Are you the primary caregiver for your parents? Do you feel sandwiched between raising children and being treated like a child by the parent that refuses your care? Now, I've searched high and low just for you and found another male that is here to discuss the emotion from the male perspective. I'm Anita, your host, and this is That's Anita Live, the talk show dedicated to providing emotional healing through sharing to help you create a happier life. In studio with me is Mr. Isaac Asare, radio host of The Random Hour here on Fairfax Radio. He served patiently as his parents' caregiver. See if you can relate to his experience. Hi, Isaac.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, what was your experience? What was your relationship with your parents like when you were a child?
I didn't actually see my dad until I was about 11.
Okay.
Because he was traveling abroad, and I stayed with my mom till about 6, and she traveled abroad too. So I was basically raised by siblings, older siblings.
So were you raised here in the States, or?
I was born in Ghana originally, and I came here around 12.
Okay, how many siblings do you have?
I have two other brothers and sisters, but I have a lot of, stepbrothers and sisters.
Okay, so your parents were able-bodied and had full lives for most of your life.
Yep. Yeah.
Then when did it become apparent that they would need care?
So for my mom, back in 2007, I noticed there was something a little bit off. Okay.
So let me paint the picture. Your mom was living alone.
Yep. Yeah.
Or your mom and dad were.
No, my dad, at that time, my dad went back to Ghana. So it's just my mom, and I have a little brother, and my little brother. And at that time, I was already working, so I was on my own, trying to make it on my own, basically. But then, I'll still come home and, see my parents and see my little brother. But every time I came back, it just seemed like something was off. So I did a little bit more, investigating. I talked to my older sister, of course, who told me not to worry, everything's fine. Okay. And then, I kept on, I became more worried. So at first I thought, okay, maybe I just don't understand. Maybe I'm like out of tune with, the African tradition. So I actually traveled to Ghana, to talk to, my mom's, brothers and sisters, just to kind of, ask, what's going on. Because, my mom used to go back a lot too, so they know, what's going on. And they told me, yeah, we kind of noticed something. And they also told me, since you're the male, you gotta, figure out what's going on and solve the problem.
So, what was it though? What were some of the things that you noticed, or that they admitted to you that they noticed?
I just noticed, like, I'll come home and then there'll just be, rotten food in the fridge, or my mom would like sometimes just disappear. For a while, nobody knows where she is, and she'll just go wander, like on the streets, or do like odd things like that started popping up. That kind of made me curious about what's going on, and I just kept on trying to figure out what's happening. And it turned out I ended up taking my mom to the hospital, to the doctor, and it turned out she had hypertension. Okay. So she had like really high blood pressure. Yeah, I was going
to say for those of us on the lay side, that's high blood pressure. Hypertension. Big bird. Okay.
Well,
so for those of us on the other side, that's high blood pressure. So the doctor said mom has high blood pressure, and you said.
And of course they actually told me to take her to the hospital because it was to the point where she could have just had a heart attack right then and there. So they, of course, I try to get it taken care of immediately. And they also recommended to see a, I want to say shrink. What's the proper psychologist about the situation, which I did also as well too. But it just kind of just kept on escalating to the point where.
Give me a time span. Did it escalate over 6 months, a year, 2 years?
About a year. It was a lot of back and forth because we're trying to get her blood pressure taken care of.
Okay.
But then we'll see a doctor, and then they'll see somebody else, and then they'll go see this person, and it just I was advised from my mom not to no longer work because she's a liability. She can't drive anymore. So I was basically advised to take all of her freedom away from her, basically.
And that was by the doctors?
The doctors, yeah, because she was a liability to herself and other people. So.
Because of blood pressure?
I think the blood pressure kind of built to other, mental illness, I think. And that's kind of what they were more concerned about. So they said, and at that time too, she got in an accident, maybe 1 or 2 accidents. So they were really concerned, like definitely not on, anything can happen if she's behind the wheel. But yeah, it's kind of, as I took, as she realized she can't do what she's used to doing anymore, then that's when the friction began. Like, because I'm the son. She tells me what to do, and now I'm kind of having to tell her what to do.
How did Mama express that friction?
She, honestly, I think we just kept fighting until the end. I mean, of course, not. She just wasn't with it. She's lived. She's told me what to do my whole life. So, who am I to tell her what to do?
Experience, traveled extensively, worked her own jobs, took care of herself and her family. And now here I put diapers on you. You gonna tell me what to do?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And she just wasn't having it. Even after I talked to her, her job about not coming in, she still went to work. She just refused to to follow anything, just because that's a cycle she was used to, and to her nothing was wrong. This is just how she's how it is. And she had she had a goal where she just wanted to see my little brother finish school, and then she'll go back, she'll retire and go back to Ghana. But then that's the only thing she was locked on. So of course, that I made that a priority as well too. But it was just a lot of back and forth. Just
now that was friction with her. Was there also friction with your siblings?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, because I think my older sister just wasn't, just wasn't buying.
In denial?
Yeah. And of course, that's our mom. Like it's hard to imagine your mother like that. It's hard to kind of think your mom needs help. And that's it took a while. Like I said, it took me going to Ghana and talking to her brothers and sisters to really find out, okay, what do I do? Like, how can I help her? And I was young too. I was 25 at that time. I wasn't exactly an adult at that time. I'm still not an adult, by the way, at least in my mind. But it's hard to kind of really step in and kind of try to make this go away, and that's kind of what I was trying to do at that time. And it took a lot of back and forth, even getting her help, because she was she was of low income, so it's kind of like I didn't have the money to afford the medical, so even just going around trying to get her aid was like a completely different.
How did your younger brother handle it? Because every sibling handles a family event differently. Every sibling is affected by family trauma differently. How did your little brother?
I think at that he was so young at that time, so he was just focused on, okay, I have to finish school and try to make it on my own, because there's a lot going on at home, and I don't want to add to the problem of what's happening here. So he was more focused on going to school, finishing school, and working basically. So he was kind of I don't want to say out of tune, because he was in the house too when all this was happening. But I kind of I tried to kind of let him kind of do his school thing, and not really burden him with what was happening at that time.
How did your sister express her concern to you in the care that you were taking over for your mom?
Honestly, I think after I came back and said, you know, we have to do something.
Okay.
And I think that's when she realized, like, okay, maybe, I think that's when she started seeing it.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like, you know, you notice certain things about people and you just think, oh, okay, this person, they're nuts, you know, like they're you know, you just don't think anything of it. But then, you know, once it starts, you know, getting worse and you realize, like, oh my goodness, like, I really have to do something, or, you know, it's going to get to a point where, you know, this person might, you know, have to be, what is it, in a bodysuit or whatever you call that thing, because they're, you know, a threat to themselves and society. And I think we didn't want it to get to that point. So we kind of just jumped in and tried to help. And honestly, like, when we started, I just thought, oh, this is going to go away. You know, like, this is just, you know, it's high blood pressure that's not taken care of. Let's get the proper medicine, and, you know, a year from now, we're good. You know, she's going to be back to work. I'm going to go on living my life, and everything's going to be good. But it just, you know, it just spiraled.
So emotionally, how did you handle watching the decline of your mom's ability to independently care for herself?
Yeah. It definitely took a toll on me. It was just one of those things where, like, you just learn to just be the pillar. Like, you just, you know, you just have to, you just deal with it. Like, you know, there's a lot of things that you just can't, you just be. Yeah, it's
Sad,
hard to explain.
Hurt, disappointed.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it was very sad because, you know, I've seen, my mother was like the, you know, like the person I looked up to, like, my whole life. She's gone through.
See how I got to pull this out of him? See how I got to pull this out of him? Because men don't want to be specific about their emotions.
Yeah. Well,
sad, disappointed, anger.
Well, yeah, I think, yeah, all that combined. It was a lot of. It was a lot of emotions, and you're right. You know, like, as a male, like, it's hard to kind of,
because you're thinking of replacing your mom as the pillar of the family.
Yeah, yeah.
So
it's kind of like, this is the lady that's, like, I go to for everything, and now, like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know what to do. Like,
so in moving from one emotion to another, how did you process that and keep going? Because, for instance, you're able to talk about it now without falling apart. So there was a process and some healing that you dealt with in dealing with the disappointment and in dealing with the hurt and the anger. Any remembrance of how, because some men run, some men throw themselves into their job and they work longer hours.
Yeah, that is me. I'm a workaholic. I work all the time. Even when I'm off, I'm working.
Okay.
What if I told you that you could stop the negative tape from playing inside your head? What if, with 7 simple steps, you could leave the pain of the past behind and live every day as your true, authentic self? It is possible, and you can do it. The ebook, 7 Simple Steps to Beat Emotional Baggage, How to Become Whole, Healed, Healthy, and Happy, shares how to resolve emotional baggage and feel free to live true to your own personality, spirit, and character. Transform negative thinking into positive thinking and become equipped to boldly face your past and resolve emotional pain. Get your free copy at thatanitalive.com/ebook.
And we're back with Mr. Isaac Asare. We are discussing being the primary caretaker for an aging parent. Your little brother stayed in school. That was his primary focus.
Yep.
Did you and your sister?
My sister had a whole
mom's
family
care?
of her own, so I think that's kind of she had a bunch of, well, I shouldn't say a bunch. She had a couple of children, so she was kind of younger children.
Okay.
So she was
okay.
focused on raising them. So she had something. So it was mainly just trying to beat damage control, basically.
So did you consider that a blessing, or did you wish that they were more helpful? Because sometimes you can have too much help.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to tell you what to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's true. There were times where I wish there was, and I think everyone, like you wish there was more help. And there were times where I was just happy I was able to do, what I did. Of course, it was a life-changing experience for me. It's still, till now, there's still things I do because of that situation. But it was, to me, I find that it was a blessing because that was the best, I say that was the best 3 years of my life. It was just, there was things where, even though we were going through so much, it just transformed me as a human being, I think.
What changed?
Just in general, just the way I see the world, just the world around me, I think, changed.
How do you see it differently?
Well, one, I've matured. I've always thought, I've always considered, I definitely matured a lot, till even, till now there are certain roles that I play in the community based on just my experience from that and how it transferred me afterwards. So that definitely changed a lot too. And just the way I see people, just the way I connect with people, it's a lot of times now, you see people and, it's quick to put labels on people and quick to kind of categorize everything, but then you don't know, their past, or you don't know what they're going through. So it kind of makes me see others in a different light in a way.
So it widened your perspective.
Yeah,
Of people.
I'll say that, yeah. But the reason I hesitate is because that's kind of something I did before, but it's kind of now I understand. For example, if I see you sad, it's not just, she must have had like a bad thing, but it's kind of like, okay, now I can feel that, like, wow, like it's how it got to, just that emotion is kind of like, okay, now it's not just I can relate to, okay, sad face and that's it, but it's kind of like I can kind of, wow, it must be something really going on with this person. I feel like I connect with people a lot better. I know it seems kind of weird, but it's kind of, that's kind of just the energy I get from people now. Of course, there's negative energy too, which I try to stay away from.
What has the relationship or the energy between you and your siblings changed?
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, and I think we're working on it. No siblings are perfect, but I think there's. I'm
gonna post a child for imperfect siblings. I cut mine off, so there's nothing that you can say. Right, there's nothing that you can say that's gonna be.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So, what are you? Did any of the roles change?
Yeah, I think it's so in and I mentioned this earlier. Like in the African, I'm from Ghana originally, and the Ghanaian culture, the oldest son is kind of the head of the family.
Okay.
Of course, here in the U.S., it's not like that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So, so that was kind of that was a challenge because I have an older sister and she feels more. She has to take care of, the family. She has to take care of everybody. Whereas like I'm looked at as like, since I'm the oldest boy, I have to kind of like make sure the family's going the right way. So there's a challenge there, with my sister and I. And of course, with my younger brother, sometimes I don't know if it's because with all the trauma we're going through, there was just a certain sometimes I feel like he may have missed out on his childhood just because, he just had to grow up quickly.
Yeah.
Like in high school, it was, this is the situation. We just have to, try to, get it done, see the best of it, and try to live our lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you say you're trying to do better,
to do as
What is it between you and your siblings that you're trying to make better? Are you trying to increase the time that you spend together, say the number of holidays that you have family time, or are you trying to increase, say, day-to-day telephone time? What is it that you're trying to increase between you and your siblings?
I think communication. I think, and this also plays. I think now where like family is not as together, as knit together. Everyone's on their own, doing their own thing.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, and I don't think I have that. That's not the mentality. Like I'm kind of like a family person. I have a big family now, and that's kind of just who I am. So it's kind of and that's probably what kind of separates us, because of course everybody's out trying to make it, trying to do
because you're in 2 different states or 3 different states.
2 different states now. My sister and I are in the same state, and my brother's in a different state.
Yeah.
So, but I don't. Therefore, my sister's about an hour and a half away, so we rarely see each other. But every now and then I try to communicate with everyone to make sure everyone's doing good.
What was the battle like trying to get resources and caring for your mom?
It was tough. I think one, because I was a young kid, so I think it seemed like every venue that I went to, they just thought I was trying to take advantage of the system, which I guess apparently it happens a lot. So that was kind of frustrating because all I wanted was to take care of my mother any way possible.
What are some of the resources that you tried to tap into?
So when I first got there, I had to figure out, because I had to quit my job to fully, take care of my mom. And then I had to, my mom had to stop working. So like 2 income sources gone. So that was pretty tough. I immediately realized, okay, what are we gonna do with rent? What are we gonna do with this? What are we gonna do with that? So it was kind of, it was tough in the beginning because I had to figure out how everything basically works.
So were you able to get any help from AARP?
I did, yeah. My mom was signed up with AARP, so I got that. And they sent me a book, I think the 36-hour day, for anyone who's going through it. That was the best book, because it got to the point where there's so much to do, and you just get flustered, and if you're not careful, you become, the victim. You need help yourself. Yeah. So it's kind of like
the caretaker needs a caregiver.
But it was just going through resources. Of course, family, friends helped a lot, and I can't thank them enough. And there was a lot of people that stepped up, especially my mom's friends, that people I didn't know or people I barely knew. They kind of helped out a lot, and that meant a lot to me. Till now, I see, especially the women, I see them and I feel like that's my mother. Because they knew my mother and they helped when my mom needed help.
They became the community.
Yeah.
When it was needed most.
Yeah. But that was a tough time, and of course going through.
Did your local social services help at all?
They did. It took a while, but I think they came once they realized this situation is pretty bad, and I'm not just trying to make a quick buck.
Okay.
I think they finally realized, okay, we need to help this boy because he's just trying to take care of his mother, and that's when things got easier. One thing I didn't realize, and this is Social Security. So if you're disabled, it takes about a year before it kicks in. And that was really a problem because we didn't, we were struggling like financially in the beginning, and I had to wait a year for to at least get some type of aid for her. But that was a shocker. But at the same time, like I was able to find work, of course, and that helped with things as well too. But then it was balancing. If I'm working, I'm not at home taking care of my mother, and that was really tough trying to decide what was more important, because nobody could really, help her, and it got to the point where like I had to decide, okay, if I really want to help her, I have to spend as much time with her as possible. And that's how it was for a while.
So what tips or any of the resources would you recommend for somebody that is now in your shoes?
The most important thing is the medical, to make sure there's good insurance, and to make sure there's good doctors, to make sure there's the medical side of it is covered, because it's a lot of back and forth with on the medical side.
Okay.
That was important, and also to just to find a good caretaker, whether if it's yourself, to make sure you have the time to do it, and if it's someone, you make sure that person is out for the best interest of of your mom. Or after I went through it, right before I decided, okay, I can't help my mom anymore. I need professionals to help her. I decided to take her to a nursing home, and I was just overfilled with emotion at that time. I made a promise to her that I will make sure nothing like this ever happens again. Of course, I was young. I didn't know, that's an impossible task, but I made that promise, and I've been able to now have a website where there's resources from DC, Maryland, and Virginia, where in case if you're going through something,
yes,
and you need to navigate your way around, you can go to the website and be able to find the help you need. And it's not just help, it's also if you need a job, you can go look for that. If you need legal help, and I'm trying to build on that just so people, so resources.
Has it launched yet?
No, it's out. It's afdiaspora.com. It was actually a TV show that I did with a nonprofit, hoping that they would kind of take this on, and that fell apart.
afdiaspora.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that fell apart, and then I created the website.
Now, have you put any parameters or anything into place so that when you have to reverse roles with your daughters, it flows a little easier for them?
I'm working on it.
I take that as a no. The process of reversing roles with your parents is a complicated one, but you don't have to do it by yourself. You can contact agingcare.com, caregiver.org, and of course the AARP.org. You may even be able to get paid for caring for an aging parent. But on the flip side, if the pressure of caring has you feeling overwhelmed, you can always reach out to the National Crisis Hotline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Because we know sometimes you don't want to be fixed, you just want to be heard. Be sure to check out thatanitalive.com for where and when to see our next episode.